Hello friends. So, in the history of the English language, now we have come up to the modern age, that is the Renaissance. 1500 to 1650, that is the period of the Renaissance. And you can see Renaissance, I hope you understand now, that is revival of art and learning. Revival of art and learning. Learning especially of classical languages, classical literature. So naturally what happens is there should be some revival in English also, isn't it? English language also. English language, when we say, it is one of the vernaculars of Europe. Vernacular. What you may understand by vernacular is, we can understand it by contrasting it with the classical. So all those non-classical languages, you can say they are vernaculars or native to a particular place. That's also, in that way also we can understand it, vernacular. For example, in our Sanskrit is our classical language, but Hindi is our vernacular language. It's vernacular. Sanskrit is classical, Hindi is vernacular, like that. Or you can say Latin is classical, but French is vernacular. Then Italian is vernacular. French, Italian, these are vernaculars, you can say. But Latin is classical. Understand? So you have vernaculars. Now, there are certain things in history, so which have got far-reaching consequences, far-reaching effects, some events. In England, we can say that's about the Black Death. You remember the rise of a new middle class who started speaking English. So that is one way that the English acquired recognition, or English gained recognition in England. That is a re-establishment of English. One of the important factors that helped to re-establish English after the Normans had left England. Understand? So another event of far-reaching influence is, we have seen now, that is the Norman conquest. What happened? The Norman conquest of 1066 by William Duke of Normandy. You remember now what happened after that? French flooding of England with Frenchmen, French people, French language, French clergy, French ministers, French barons, French lords, French administration, everything French. As a result of that, you also saw that English was pushed to the level of just a colloquial language. Many places, the upper class people and the people in the administration, they used English. Sorry, the French. Because it was even fashion, is considered to be an aspect of fashion to speak French. And French is packed full fairy and fetishly upon the scholar of Stratford, Beauvais, for French of Paris was to hear unknown about the priors. That is, Joseph speaks about the priors in his the prologue to Canterbury Tales. See, I have gotten this somewhere else also. This is the second time I am quoting this, right? So, sometimes you may think that, if you think like that, I don't know, that this sir knows only, this professor knows only these 4 lines and he is repeating it everywhere. No, but you see, because of the context and not only that, once I repeat, what happens is that it's easy for you to remember also. Isn't it? Same thing is repeated, then you can remember. Your memory will remain fresh as far as these lines are concerned. Now, 1500 is the beginning of modern English period. And then I already told you this far-reaching and significant, or which has got profound effects on life and language. You can see certain conditions came to play after 1500. See, what I am trying to tell you is that when I said about Norman conquest and Black Death, there are other things. I want to connect it to that. That's why I said certain. For example, in India, if you say the Battle of Plassey, won by Robert Clive, it's a far-reaching effect, because actually he founded the Battle of Plassey, laid the foundation stone for the British East India Company or British rule in India, we can say. So it has got far-reaching consequences. Understand that? So, like just as we have Sepoy mutiny, far-reaching consequences it has. And in fact, in history, it is known as the first independence struggle, the first independence struggle. So, like that, what I am trying to tell you is that after 1500, certain conditions came to play. So something happened. Some revolutionary things happened, and we can say such as the printing press. 1476, William Caxton introduced printing in England, printing with the printing press. And then second is, you can see the education, spread of education. That is, it has got popular education, not just education, but popular education. Third is increased communication and increased means of communication. And fourth is social consciousness. So, just as you have got the Black Death and the Norman Conquest, so you have got four other events, you can say. That's what I am trying to tell you. And first one is, we have already seen, what is the first one? Printing press. Printing press. Just as mobile phones, introduction of mobile phone has a far-reaching effect. Everyone in the bus, when I travel by bus, I was saying, nobody even looks left, right. They have been doing like this. Like this. Not talking, nothing. See that? Otherwise, if they are youngsters, they will have something here, earplugs. Far-reaching effect. So what happened is that your capacity to speak, that is, I think that after some time it will disappear if people do like this. And also, as a factor of evolution, sometimes your thumb will become larger. See, and there is every possibility because you are always doing like this. And because of that, there is a possibility that after say 100 years or so, if this trend continues, your thumb will be bigger than all the other fingers here. See, things can happen, that's what I'm saying. So far-reaching consequences. Like that, 1500, when I speak about 1500 and after that, so far-reaching consequences, that is a printing press, then education and means communication and the social consciousness. If I say like this, you will sometimes ask me, sir, in which century are you in? Or which age are you in? Are you speaking to us about Stone Age, New Stone Age, Old Stone Age? If I say that there is increased means of communication in those days, radio, and then telegraph, what sir, it's no more here. You will say like that, isn't it? But think of 1500. Don't consider that it is of less importance, or insignificant. 1500 and after that, whatever I am going to tell you about the situation there, the conditions that existed, the new conditions that came to play, etc., they had great relevance as far as development of English is concerned. Alright, so we'll take one by one and see what happens. First, printing. Remember the importance of printing if you want to know. First is printing. Printing in England in 1476 by William Caxton. And this had far-reaching consequences to all the vernaculars of Europe. Not only England, France, French language, that is, you have got Italian language, French, Italian. See that? So all the vernaculars of English, of course, vernaculars of Europe. Yes. See, that is. So if I say like this, the printing press. Why do we say that it was such a landmark? Because you should know how before this books were published. How copies of books were made? Handwritten. Manuscript. If you want to compare your mobile revolution and telephone industry, what happened to telephone? Years ago, if you wanted to call somebody from Trivandrum to Delhi, you will have to wait for 5 days, 6 days. You have to book trunk call. That's called trunk call. So a book can sit in front of you. Sometimes after 3 days you will get an information. Oh, we reached up to Punjab, then it could not go forward. Further, no transmission. Like that. But what about now? I have my mobile, I can talk to a person in Russia, in Moscow, in Beijing, in Delhi, and where are you? So I can talk to you or you can talk to me. Isn't it? So simple. So, but when I say about printing press, now you have DTP. And there is, I think voice printing is also there. You talk to a machine, the machine will print. In such a situation as we are standing today, you may think that what this are is saying. But you should understand the situation then. So, manuscript. So with the coming of printing press, all the manuscript books disappear. By 1640, this is 1476, by 1640, about 20,000 books were published. Listen, 20,000, 1600. And this is from mere pamphlets to massive folios. Understand? Books became not expensive. Once it was the expensive luxury of the rich. But now after printing press and copying the books by producing the copies of books by printing, it becomes cheaper. Common man can go, get into a shop and buy. Just a luxury as a few. That is why it has reached everyone. Everybody is reaching upward. Reproduction in thousands. So naturally what happened? Spreading of the language. That's the point. The impact on the language. The printing press had its impact on the language. It was immense. There was a speaker, it's a VIP, very important person. He used to repeat important words in his speech. So when I say immense, he used to say like this. So if he would be speaking to you, he would say like this. The impact of the printing was immense, immense, immense. That is for stressing the importance. You can see. So the point to remember is that it was really everything turned upside down, you can see. So that till then you have to sit down, you have got a lamp, then you have to sit in front of that, write down everything with a pen. How many years will it take to produce 100 copies of the scripture or any novel or any book like that? But now, within days it happens. At presently, within seconds. And I don't think about percents. Understand? Think about 15,000. So the printing press had a tremendous impact on the growth and spreading of English language. That is during the beginning of the modern century, that is modern age, and that is Renaissance. We call it Renaissance. Renaissance rebirth. See that? Some revival. Everything is revived. Art, literature. So then language is also revived. Now the second reason is spread of popular education. Popular education. Why popular education I say? Because popular is important, because education was the privilege of a few people. Only the rich people could afford. Few schools, 1 or 2 universities, teachers, maybe it's very few we can say. But then what happens with this? Literacy became common. reading books, reading pamphlets, etc., literacy became very common. The middle class started going to school. That is the popular education. Shakespeare's England, half of the population of England could read and write. Literacy. The number of schools increased. There was tremendous journalistic output by Daniel Defoe. Rapid rise of the novel. Printing press had impact on language as well as thought. Got the point. Again, the indirect effect of particulars is this spread of literacy. Number of schools, people started taking interest, just become cheap, education has become cheap, popular means the, let's say, the middle class people started going to school, and journalistic output, novels, people started. So literacy. So popular education and literacy, that is important, literacy. This is another event that has far-reaching consequences. I told you about the Black Death and the Norman Conquest. That is an example. But now in after 1500, from 1500 onwards, these things like printing press and popular education. Then for third point is increase in communication and means of communication. Communication increased, and also means, I already told you. That is, this is a radio, then telegraph, post office, letters, sending and receiving letters. You have got talking films that talking, telephone I already told you. And so because of this, intermingling of languages, intermingling of dialects. This is means. And then increase in communication took place because of trading. See, exchange of commodities. You have got the steamship, automobile, railroad, airplane and so on. If I tell you now that there is easy transportation was made because of steamship, now you will laugh. What steamships are? Because now you have air cargo. Isn't it? You book something here and 2 to 3 days. But otherwise it used to take months. Sometimes half an year or so. But you should always say this is the period. I am speaking about this period. So steamship, railroad, airplane, these made transportation easy. Automobiles, see, different parts of the world brought together. Now we will say we are speaking about what? Global village. Now we are in a global village. The world has shrunk, you will say. Those days people 1500 and so thought that the world now is becoming smaller and smaller. Isn't it? Because you can listen to your radio, somebody somewhere, some corner of the universe sitting and singing, you can listen to them. You can send your commodities to faraway places because of these things. So you have got the world brought together. So you have got increase in communication and means of communication as a result of that world coming together. World brought together. You can say the first step or the foundation stone of the global village, if you want to put it like that. Now, the world brought together, what is the impact? As far as the language is concerned, what is the importance? Spreading. You take your English to a place, say France or Italy, and then you bring back the graces of that language to England. You try to imitate them. Isn't it? When you go to Italy, you come across books by Boccaccio, stories of Boccaccio. Boccaccio, stories of Boccaccio. And then you see some people read here and they say, why can't we also write stories like this? As you know, even Chaucer was influenced by Boccaccio. So, the point here is, it has got, again, I want to repeat, far-reaching consequences on the English language. So, everything is geared to that. When you say printing press, English language. When you say popular education, English language, vernacular. When you say English in communication, again that is English language. Understand? That's the point. And the fourth one, we have already mentioned, that is, you have a social consciousness. So growth of social consciousness. Growth of social consciousness means the people, they had to in a way identify themselves with groups. So the lower class people, they wanted to migrate to the higher class. For that they had to imitate the accent of the higher class, upper class. They had to speak like the upper class, dress like the upper class, behave like the upper class. Speech, manner, pronunciation, vocabulary. See? So, grammar. Suppose somebody says like this, standard grammar is he goes. Suppose somebody says he go, then he is illiterate person. So therefore what happens is, to escape from such a remark, he had to study, go to a grammar school and study the language, proper roots of the language. So again, the point is of English. Pronunciation. Suppose somebody says like this, instead of denouement, somebody says denouement. Even now you can say, if somebody says denouement, then you will frown at it. What? From where this fellow is coming? He does not know even the pronunciation of such a word. That's a very difficult word, that's another thing. But or is a word like if you say very parliament, you say like parliament. It's okay, you understand, but the pronunciation, there is something strange in it. So you say, he doesn't know, where did he learn this? So they did not want such remarks from others. So they learned the correct pronunciation. Vocabulary, for example, instead of child, you say kid. Kid. Kid is a slang. Child is standard word. If you say, my kids, immediately people look at him and say, why does he say like this? Why does he use kid? Means he has not gone to school. He is an illiterate fellow. So, to avoid such remarks from others and also identify themselves, always it is like that. No upper class people want to identify themselves with the lower class people. All the migration is upwards. So the lower class people, they wanted to migrate. They want to identify themselves with the upper class people in all aspects, especially in speaking. And therefore, what happened? Again, it is impact on English. Understand? Their dress, their manners, the way of talking, the pronunciation, the words they use, grammar, etc. So, it had an impact on, a positive impact on the language. So, we can say beginning of the modern era, that is 1500 onwards. 1500, 1650 is the period of Renaissance, revival. So, all the vernaculars of Europe, they were given a booster dose, you can say. Booster, inverted commas. But that is not a standard way of saying things. So immediately you will identify me with some illiterate group of people. You need not do that. That's why I said in inverted commas. Booster dose. Commercial jargon. Okay. So these are the four reasons. So directly or indirectly, these events had tremendous impact on the growth and development of the newborn, the infant's English language. Last class we saw English, Standard English, rise of Standard English. From wriggling out too many dialects, spoken varieties. So from this, many varieties, so you can too many varieties. One variety wriggled out like this and became the standard language, accepted standard form. We saw the fact is there, Chaucer and his successors, then Oxford and Cambridge, you saw, East Midland district, East Midland dialects, middle position, intermediate position, London as the capital of England. So these things we have already seen, isn't it? And the monasteries, they did not play much, they did not have much role in education, and so it was taken up by the universities. See that? And also individual writers, his supporter, and trade class, a new class of tradesmen. They are coming in traffic, that is a business and trading. A lot of other things, but a lot of these things, the reasons I listed in the last class now. Some of them I have already repeated. I have repeated now. And the East Midland type of English, especially the variety used in London, that, as I told you, wriggled out. The other dialects were pulling it back like this, pulling it down. Somehow it wriggled out, and then became the standard language. Now what happens in the modern age? The standard language started growing and developing. Because of factors, we have some of these factors existed even before 1500. But it appeared as a torrential source. The impact was torrential. And then new factors like printing press. As a result of this, what happened? There was growth and revival of learning in vernaculars, revival of learning in renewed interest in vernaculars, revival of classical language, and renewed interest in the vernaculars. Understand? So, you see that the struggle, now what comes is the struggle, there is a struggle for recognition. That's another thing, struggle for recognition. Today, English has no problem with recognition. Why? Because it is now used by the most powerful country in the world, America. So it is the global language. Isn't it? So like that. So during the Renaissance, now it has to become, it is on the way to becoming a world language. So there is a struggle for recognition and its growth. That we shall see in the next class. But for the time being, you got the background. The background, Renaissance and its impact. When I say Renaissance and impacts, remember 4 factors. Printing, that's 1. Second, popular education. Literacy, 3rd. Communication, and 4th, social consciousness. I hope you are following me. You don't, when you compare this, what I told you about railroad and this lorry service and so on, public carrier, lorry service and so on, now you will laugh. But think of 1500. Always keep that in mind. Understand? This is a history, interesting history. Okay, so see you again in the next class with more topics on the history of the English language. So keep subscribing, keep subscribed and keep subscribing, asking other people to do it. If this lecture series these lectures are useful to you. Useful, it is useful or some help to you. Okay, I hope that you will be doing that. And with this optimistic note today, we will say goodbye each other until we meet again. Bye.